Hi team, I hope you're all well. Today we are going to be doing my December wrap up and then just have a very quick look-see at some stats for 2024. I didn't want to do like an entirely different video for my 2024 review. I was gonna, but I didn't want to. I'm not a very statistical person. I don't really get excited at looking at my stats. I do on occasion, but not very often, so then having to talk through them with you and try and make that interesting is really difficult for me. So it's easier for me to just tell you what I read in December and then go through with you very quickly some numbers of like how much I read for the year, maybe how much I DNF'd, what some of my new to me authors for the year and how many books I read from them. So, you know, we will do some of that stuff towards the end if you're interested in some of that statistical stuff. So in December, I had a little bit of a hard time with this month. I'm looking at my stack of books that I got through in December, and honestly, the ones at the top of this stack, which I read at the beginning of the month, feel like such a long time ago. They feel like they were a month or two ago, not this month. It's so bizarre. So this month went on and on and on for me. There was a lot going on. It was my birthday, it was my nephew's birthday, my parents were moving into their new house, we were hosting Christmas, and then I got engaged as well right before Christmas. And then obviously there's New Year, and I've been thinking about Andy's birthday as well, which is New Year's Day. So there's been a lot going on, and it's been a constant cycle of, okay, let's get past this event and then we can deal with the next event, and it's just been constant and constant, and it never ended. And now it's going to be a constant thing as well, with, you know, planning a wedding and stuff. So my mind is already going again. We've not even got past New Year or Andy's birthday, and my mind is already going on the next thing. So there is a lot to be getting on with, but I did manage to read 21 books. I DNF'd 2 books, but I read 21 books in the month of December, which isn't too bad. I had a lull period actually the week before Christmas. I think I finished one thing, and it was a manga, and other than that I read nothing else that week. I was dipping in and out of an arc that I then finished the following week, which is my Christmas reading vlog, which will go live for you guys in a few days. But I just had a massive lull period, and I couldn't be bothered to read. I really wanted to, but I just was struggling to get my brain to concentrate, and it was really, really hard for me. So I kind of fell out of love with reading a little bit. I was in a bit of a slump actually, and I hated it. I hated that for me. So the last vlog of 2024, which again will come up in a couple of days, was kind of me trying to find my feet again with reading, and I struggled and struggled and struggled, and then the last day, on the Sunday, I managed to smash my way through 5 books. Now bear in mind that one of those was a manga and the rest were novellas, but I still managed to smash my way through them. I think I needed short bursts and quick senses of achievement, because I'd read almost nothing, but I'd not read a lot for a period of time, for like 2 weeks. So anyway, we're here and I'm here to talk to you about the 21 books that I did read and the 2 books that I DNF'd in December. So you will recognise a handful of these, like the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these were for the Goodreads Choice Awards vlog. So I'm not going to go into too much detail with those, because you've already potentially seen the vlog, and if you haven't, I would truly appreciate it if you did. It's a long one, but I would very much so appreciate it. So 21 books read, 2 DNF'd. I read a total of 5,881 pages. Not my best, but not my worst month, an average month for me. A total of 112.5 hours listened to in December. So pretty average reading month for me, I would say. Maybe it was all right. It wasn't horrendous. So let's have a quick look see at what I was rating stuff. So we did start off with we did start off with Funny Story by Emily Henry, which again is in the Goodreads Choice Awards video. I gave this one 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and it was nice to be back with Emily Henry's writing style and stuff, because I've been putting this one off, which is why it ended up being the end of the year before I picked this back up again. I didn't love Happy Place, so it's great to have another 5-star from Emily because I really didn't enjoy Happy Place at all. So yeah, 5 stars for Funny Story by Emily Henry. Then I did read The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. If you've been here for a while, I was always kind of like a high epic fantasy reader, and then I went into a slump maybe 2.5, 3 years ago now, and it lasted for a good portion of time, about 1.5 years, and then I came out of it like middle of last year and got back into my high epic fantasy, and then this year The Way of Kings put me back in it, and I don't know if that's it for me now. I am doing my hardest not to push myself too hard and pick high epic fantasy up, but this one was a combination of fantasy and mystery, and I enjoyed the mystery element. I could have left the fantasy alone. I wasn't interested in the fantasy side of things, but the mystery element was good in this. I did end up giving it 3.5 stars. Whether or not I pick up the next one, I'm not sure. I did enjoy the characters. I think I would really have to be in the mood to pick the next one up, so I don't have it pre-ordered, but 3.5 stars for this one. Then I did read Welcome to the Hunamdong Bookshop, which I gave 3 stars. I liked this. It was interesting, but I think when I read the Kamigawa Food Detectives, I wanted more from the stories. We got little bursts, like it was almost like 5 short stories, so we're following the main characters in the story that would make the food the actual like food detectives, and then we got a story from a person coming in asking them to make them the food. So I wanted more from those stories, and I wanted them to be a bit longer. Now that I've read this, I actually think the short story side of things in translated fiction works really, really well, and I really enjoyed the short bursts instead, and kind of getting a little tiny look-see, a little window into somebody's life and seeing where it went, and then coming back out of it and starting on somebody else. This, for me, just went on a little bit too long. Like, pretty much nothing happened. I understand the point of it, that the point of it is that it's meant to be like healing fiction and not much is meant to happen other than it's supposed to heal a part of your soul. But for me, this didn't do a great deal, which is fine. You know, not all of them are going to work for me, and I did give it 3 stars. It was fine. I just didn't love it. It wasn't one of my favourite translated fictions, but I'm glad that I picked it up. Then I did read Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I gave this one 5 stars. This audiobook is incredible and I would highly recommend it. It's got a podcast element to it and it's very, very clever. We're following our main character, who's Lucy, and she was accused of killing her best friend many, many years ago. She doesn't know whether or not she's done it because she lost her memory in the act of everything that happened in that moment. And essentially a podcaster has decided that he's going to take this story on and try and figure it out, and she's convinced that he wants to prove her guilty. That isn't the case. He just wants to find out what happened. So it's really, really clever, very well done, and I absolutely love this. I gave it 5 stars. Would highly recommend the audiobook. I read this one for the audiobook category, even though it was in the mystery category, thriller category as well. So I did read it for the audiobook category and I would highly recommend the audiobook. 5 stars. Then I also read Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. I gave this one 4 stars. This was very clever. It's a queer YA horror and it was really clever, following 2 boys who were best friends, and they essentially can see monsters in the forest, and as it turns out, their drawings, one of them writes stories, one of them does the drawings for the stories, and as it turns out, the drawings have come to life. And they're at a private school, and one of them's got a twin sister. Andrew's got a twin sister, Thomas is the other boy, and it was a very, very well written book. I thought the writing style for this was going to be its downfall for me because I don't like lyrical and flowery writing, and that's what this has. But this gave me, I said it very early on in the vlog when I started reading this, that it gave me the Wicked King vibes by Kay Ankrum, which is another book that I shouldn't have liked because of the writing style, but I love. And when I'd finished this, I had the same feeling. It was very much so. I wasn't fixated on the writing style too much because I loved the story and I was very intrigued about what was going to happen with these characters. So 4 stars for this one. It was very, very good, and it is a debut, and I'm really proud of the author for this as well. Then my first DNF of the month was The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook. Struggles. I wanted to say C.J. Drews then. I was back on Drews again. C.J. Cook. I DNF'd this one. This was in the horror category, and I'm actually really sad about this one being picked in the horror category because I had Diavola as well that I could have picked. I did give this one to my patrons, so there is no blame here, obviously. This, in my personal opinion, shouldn't have been in the horror category. It should have been in the historical fiction category. So I think I made it a decent way into this. I might have made it like 120 pages or something into this. But for me, it's not horror. It's following two different timelines, and in one timeline, a woman has been burned for being a witch. It's the witch trials and stuff. And there is a book of witching, and then in this timeline, current day, a woman is waiting by her daughter's hospital bed. She was found on the beach, in which I think these burnings, the witch trials, happened. And she was found on a beach with her boyfriend who died, and her best friend is missing. And the thing that connects the two events is this book of witching. And I think, I obviously haven't finished this, but I don't know what the horror element is supposed to be in it, whether it's supposed to just be that it's witchings, whether it's supposed to be the witch trials, whether it's supposed to be that it's the terrifying element for this mother that her daughter is in the hospital bed, and when her daughter wakes up, she's like, I don't know who Clem is, I don't know who you are, my name is Nyx. And that's the horrifying element of it. I don't know what it is, but for me, in horror, when I'm picking a horror up, I want to be terrified, or I want to have doubt put in my mind about a situation that I was quite secure in, or something like that. I really want to have my thought process shaken up a little bit, you know? So this for me isn't horror, and it should have been in the historical fiction category, and I'm a little bit pissed about it because I was very excited about the horror category. I'd read quite a lot from it this year, and I wanted to pick up some more because I've had such a good run with horror, and this one has really let me down, so I'm sad about that. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. But yeah, and I bought this for the video as well, so I'm really pissed about it, but that can go straight in an unhaul pile. Okay, then we do have the Winter in the Wood by Jane Riordan. This is a Winnie the Pooh book, the latest one. I always get these and read them pretty quickly once I've got them. So I did get this one, and I think I read this during my birthday week. I'm not sure, I can't remember what vlog it was in, but I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely love Winnie the Pooh, if you didn't know. I don't know how you didn't know that, but yeah, gave this one 5 stars. It was very sweet, and it was perfect for this time of year to be picking this up as well. This would be perfect for to be reading early in the year as well, just in general during winter. But it was really sweet, even in autumn actually, because it does start off kind of from autumn into winter. So it's very cute, and I loved it. 5 stars. Aside from the Book of Witching, this is my most disappointing read for December, and one of my most disappointing reads of the year. I'm absolutely devastated about this because the cover's so fucking beautiful, and I'm really sad about it. But My December Darling by Lauren Asher. I listened to the audiobook of this, and I just hated it. It was so bad, and I'm really upset about it because it's a duet audiobook. I should have loved it, but the male narrator was terrible. Like, I hate to say that about a person because it's literally his voice, it's literally his job, do you know what I mean? But it just didn't work for me. It sounded like he was whispering, and everything he said sounded like, I don't know, it did not work for me at all. It was not good, and honestly I would have preferred it if the female narrator would have just done the whole thing. I actually think I would have preferred that than him doing Luke's narration, and I just found it quite on that. I think it was the audiobook that did this to me, so I do want to kind of come back round to this and maybe give it a physical read and see if it's better physically read than the audio. Maybe it was the audiobook. It's amazing how quickly an audiobook can ruin a really good book for somebody, so I think that's what's happened here. I'm assuming it's the audiobook's fault because I didn't enjoy the narrators. Well, I enjoyed her but not him, but I think because I was multitasking, so I was doing something while listening to this at the same time, and it wasn't something that I could just stop the audiobook for and pick my Kindle up because I didn't have the time essentially, otherwise I would have done that. But yeah, this one did not work for me. It felt very, I mean, it will feel insta-lovey, it's a novella, it's meant to feel insta-lovey, but it felt quite insta-lovey, and I think the audible narration of it, the audiobook, just made it feel very cheesy, like a lot cheesier, like horrible cheese, you know, not good to taste cheese. It's not mozzarella cheese, you know, it's really bad cheese. Probably really moldy cheese that's been in the fridge for too long, and you take a risk, you know, you take a risk with it. It's that kind of cheese. It was not good cheese, and I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't have a good time, and I'm really sad because the cover for this is stunning, and I wanted to put it all over my Instagram. And now I feel like I can't do that because I didn't like it. 2.5 stars for this one. I'm sad about it. I did like the fact that they came together though with the Legos and stuff, you know, with the hobbies. I liked that. That was really cute, but the rest of it, not a fan. Didn't like it. I then went on to read The Biggest Christmas Secret Ever by L.D. Lipinski, which was really, really sweet. The first one in this series is Stepfather Christmas. It's really weird because on Goodreads it's not deemed a series, but you're following the same characters, and it does follow on from Stepfather Christmas, so I would recommend reading that one first if you're going to pick this up. But I really liked this. It was very, very cute. I gave it 4 stars. It was really nice to be back with these characters, and it did put me in the Christmas mood because at this point in time I think this was another downfall of this book as well. It's not the book's fault necessarily, but I wasn't in the mood for Christmas romances at all. Like, really did not want to pick Christmas romances up. Was entirely against it. Like, I was literally the Grinch. So that went against that book as well. And you will notice that as we go through the books, like, there are not many Christmas romances on here at all. So this was nice because it was Christmas, but it wasn't a romance. It's a middle grade, like, adventure-ish book, if you like. It's contemporary. So I really enjoyed this one and gave it 4 stars. Then I did pick up A Holly Jolly Diwali by Sonia Lally. I enjoyed this one. I gave it 3 stars. It was a good time. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. I do think that the relationship between our main character and the guy that she met in India was quite insta-lovey, maybe, I don't know. And the third act conflict as well, I was so frustrated. All it needed was some communication. However, what I will say about it, the only plus side to that was that what it did force them to do was have her come back to the UK and actually resolve some issues that were kind of left wide open that when she left. So I liked that we got those issues resolved. And it all came together very nicely, but the third act conflict did annoy me. The lack of communication was annoying, but overall I did enjoy this, and it was nice to see a festive read, but from a different culture and from a different holiday. Obviously we're celebrating Diwali, so it was really nice to see that, and I really enjoyed it on that basis. So 3 stars for this one, and I'm glad I've read it. It's been on my radar for a while. Then I did read The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. This has been very popular this year. I gave this one 4 stars. I liked the combination of romance and mystery. I thought it was done very, very well, and I really enjoyed where this story went. I liked that it was 2 authors that came together, were invited to somebody's house that they thought was a big fan, and as it turned out, it was Maggie's favourite author of all time, and I really enjoyed where it went. I thought it was a good time. I thought it was very fun. I thought the audiobook was done incredibly well. Again, another one that I would highly recommend the audiobook for, and I had a very good time with it. 4 stars for this one. Then I did read Jumpstart by Kayla James. I got an arc of this and then bought a physical copy the day it came out, and I freaking love this. This is the second one in this series, the Grid series by Kayla James. This one is Lights Out, and I gave Lights Out 5 stars earlier on this year, and I fucking love this. This was so good. I was sobbing my heart out at the end of this book. It was such a good time. It's a second chance romance, but it's done in such a way, like, normally with a second chance romance you get a very quick glimpse into their past relationship, and then it's all about the second chance side of things, and I don't usually get on with second chance romances. Or it's a case of you see them in current day, but you get chapters in the past kind of throwing you back to how their relationship used to be and exactly what happened. In this one, it's done a little bit differently. We get well over like 130 pages of their relationship in the past, and then 8 years goes by and you have the second chance portion of the story, and it's incredible, which is why it's so long, but it's absolutely incredible to read, and I just love this. I was so fucking invested in this relationship that when we got to the second portion, I was like, I was shocked actually at what happened because I wasn't anticipating it, and it's become a very, very it's very quickly become a favourite microtrope of mine, but I just love this. It was so fucking good. I gave it 5 stars. Kayla James can do no wrong, and I'm so excited to see what comes for her in the future, and also to see what else comes out of the Grid series, because I'm already so invested in the next book, already so invested. And this is what happens with Lights Out. I was already invested in Jace's story before I'd even got my hands on the book, so I'm very excited to see what comes of the rest of the series, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the next book for sure. Then I did read Cabin Mates by Leah Brunner. I don't own this, I read it on my Kindle, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. This is a best friends to lovers book, which, as you know, is one of my favourite tropes, and I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very good. I tried reading this last year and I started it and then just didn't continue it. I don't think I was in the mood, but I have given it another bash this year, and I'm so glad that I enjoyed it. And I love this cover. This cover is absolutely stunning. It's so beautiful. I would love a trophy copy for my shelves, but I really need to be careful with space and what I'm spending my money on now. So but yeah, I loved this. It was absolutely fantastic. I couldn't get enough of the characters. And I just had such a fantastic time. I thought the plot of the story was very well done. It is, as I say, best friends to lovers, but also fake dating, and I really enjoyed that aspect, and it was so good. 4.5 stars for this one. Then I did read A Business Proposal Volume 6, which I gave 5 stars. I'm just loving this series and I cannot wait. I'm really hoping actually that the K-drama continues, because I loved season 1, but I'm really hoping it continues, because the more I read of this, the more I want to watch the K-drama. So I do have volume 7, but I'm keeping hold of that till volume 8 comes out. I always like to have one in my back pocket just in case it works well for a readathon or I'm slumping, because this really helped me with that while I was having such a hard time trying to decide what to pick up next. So this really helped me out with that, so I would definitely recommend reading this. Is so good, and I had a very good time with it. 5 stars for this one. Then I did read First Time Caller by BK Borison. I show a picture of it here. It's not out yet. I got an arc of this one. I feel incredibly lucky to have an arc of this, because I read all of the Love Light Farms series. Well, I read Love Light Farms December last year, and then I read the rest of the series this year, and I had a fantastic time with it, and I loved it, and I knew I was going to love this one. And this was so fucking good. This is what a rom-com is. It is so well done, and I absolutely loved the whole story. I loved Aiden and Lucy, and I just loved all of the side characters as well. They played a massive part in it, and I think that the audiobook for this is going to be incredible. I think if they can get duet narration on this and it's done really well and produced really well, it's going to be an incredible audiobook, and I can't wait for it to come out so that I can give it a listen and give it a reread, because I definitely will be doing once it comes out. I can't wait for a physical copy as well, because I really want to go through and highlight the shit out of it. Just a quick FYI so that you know, you are going to want to do that. There is so much relatable and real and raw stuff in there that you are going to want to get your tabs and your highlighters and your pens out. 100%. It's so good. 5 stars. I then went on to read Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret by Benjamin Stevenson. I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars, which is the same rating that I gave Everyone on This Train Is a Suspect, and I liked this one. I thought it was very well done. Not horrendously Christmassy, which is actually probably a good thing for me, because I apparently didn't want that anyway in my books, but I thought the mystery was very well done. I really enjoyed the whole opening advent calendar doors side of things, like the whole point of, like, Benjamin Stevenson is just really good at the breaking the fourth wall and speaking to you as the reader, but with the character of Ernest Cunningham, which is the main character in these stories, and it's just so very well done. And I really liked that it was done in an advent calendar way, so you were opening different doors for each clue and each additional mystery towards the mystery, and it was just really enjoyable. A very good time, very fast paced and very quick. The audiobook for this is on Spotify if you wanted to give it a listen, but I really enjoyed this one. It was very good and I gave it 4 stars. Then I did read Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. I was glued to my Kindle this month. Glued to it, because I don't own this one either. It's on Kindle Unlimited. This was so fucking good. Listen, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, oh my god, I can't believe you even tried that book, like it's a stalker romance, stalking is a trigger for you. I know, but this is what I would call a dark rom-com. Now don't ask me how those two things happen, but it did and it worked really well. I gave it 5 stars. The duet narration was fantastic. The story is incredible. I really love Josh and Ali, and I thought that their romance was really well done. And I really enjoyed it. I liked the fact that he was stalking her, but he was also kind of taking the piss out of himself. And sometimes he would have to question what he was actually doing. And I kind of enjoyed that fact. And it was different than what I was expecting as well. I thought this was going to be a case of like he was stalking her and then he very quickly found out that someone else was stalking her and he was going to have to try and take care of this. It was different to that, entirely different to that. And I really enjoyed it. I kind of liked the time that we got to spend with Josh and Ali before shit went down, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. It was so fucking good, and I'm very excited about the next one. I definitely want a trophy copy for my shelves of this though. 100% do want that. Then I tried the Quiet Tenant, show a picture of it here, and I got 75 pages into this one. This is my second DNF of the month. I was really excited about this one because it's following a guy called Aiden who is a dad, he's a husband, and he's also a serial killer who's killed 8 women and keeps a woman in his shed in the backyard. His wife and his daughter know nothing about this. Now, shit kind of goes tits up when his wife passes away and he has to move house. He's got to make a decision with what to do with this woman in the shed, and he ends up taking her into his home, kind of telling his daughter that they've got a roommate because they need the help paying the bills. And that's kind of the point at which I got to. Now we were following from the woman in the shed's POV, who he's named Rachel. We are following from Emily, who I assume is going to be one of his new victims, and then every now and then we got a chapter from one of his older victims about how they passed away and what happened. So I was kind of enjoying the layout, I suppose, of the story, and I was really intrigued about how this was going to go down and what was going to happen. However, the writing style was very short, choppy chapters, and it was doing my nut in. The other thing that was doing my head in as well, it's the sort of thing that I can maybe keep up with, but the other thing that was doing my head in was that everything was overly descriptive, really overly descriptive, which was irritating when your chapters are like 5 words long. It's not your chapters, your sentences are like 5 words long. It was driving me insane, and I just couldn't carry on with it. I tried really hard, but I just couldn't carry on with it, and I wasn't having a good time, so I ended up DNFing it. I'm sad about it. I think I'm going to go and look on Goodreads and see if I can find a spoilery review, because I want to know what happens at the end. I did see a couple people saying that they're annoyed that they've continued on with this book because they wanted to DNF it, but they wanted to know what happened at the end, and then they were let down. So I'm interested to know what happened at the end of this book, but I know it's very popular as well. But I just couldn't cope with the writing style, and for me it's always sad. I will always try and power through a book if there's something that's keeping my intrigue, but if it's the writing style that's letting me down, for me personally, it's just something I can't get by. I can't continue to read if the writing style is insufferable for me. So unfortunately that was the case with that one. I then went on to read Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson. This is book 0.5 in the Summoner's Circle, is it called, this series, and I actually really enjoyed this. I picked this up on a whim when we went to Halifax to see Andy's dad earlier on in December, and I'm really glad I picked it up. I picked it up because of these. Essentially, there are illustrations, pictures throughout the book, and it's also a stunning cover. I haven't read Evocation by S.T. Gibson, and I wasn't sure if I was going to. I liked A Dowry of Blood, but I haven't read anything else by the author, so I ended up picking this up on a whim. And then somebody commented on the video in which I picked this up, and I asked, do I read this first or do I read Evocation first? I know this is book 0.5, but sometimes it's better to read it in a different order than what number order they come in on occasion. I don't know. And somebody said read this first because the events of what happens in here affects the events of Evocation. So I did, and I am so excited to pick up Evocation now. Honestly, I'm really excited. I really enjoyed this. I loved the writing style. I loved Moira and Reese and their story that they had to tell and what happened in here, and I really enjoyed the magic system as well. So I'm very excited to go into Evocation. I think it's something that I'm going to try and pick up in January because I'm really looking forward to it. The second third, if you like, book comes out later on in 2025, so I'm really looking forward to picking that up. But I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. It was very, very good and I really enjoyed it. I then read My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999 volume 2, and I gave this one 3 stars. I liked this. I'm enjoying this story. It's quite good. It is like a gaming kind of story, and Akane has been dumped by her boyfriend in the first one, and then she ends up meeting Yamada-kun, and he invites her to join his guild, and in this one she ends up meeting other members of the guild, but in person, and it doesn't quite go to plan for her as she anticipated. But I enjoy this series. It's very good. Volumes 3 and 4 are out, with volume 5 coming out in March, I think, next year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing on with this one, and I did give this one 3 stars. Yeah, 3 stars for this one. I did then go on to read Come With Me by Brooke Montgomery, which is book 0.5 in the Sugarland Creek series. I've read this series entirely out of order, but the only good order I got was reading books 3 and 4 back to back. But I started with book 3. So I read book 3, book 4, book 1, book 0.5, and then I'm going to read book 2 in January before book 3 comes out, before book 5 comes out in Feb. So I really enjoyed this one. It is obviously a novella. It's a prequel to the Sugarland Creek series, and it doesn't follow someone in the Hollis family, but it is set on the farm. So they essentially were following Aiden and also, oh shit, what was her name? Lainey. Following Aiden and Lainey, and we get a quick glimpse, as I mentioned before with Jumpstart, we get a quick glimpse at their relationship 10 years ago, and 18-year-old Aiden essentially running away for reasons, but asking her to go with him and she just couldn't. So then we jump 10 years into the future, not 10 years into the future, we jump to current day, 10 years later, and Aiden has been working on the Hollis farm for pretty much a decade. He's been there since the day he ran away, and Lainey ends up turning up, and she tells him that she's got a daughter. The daughter is his. She couldn't get hold of him, she didn't know how, and that his best friend has passed away, and then there's a whole bunch of other secrets to come out of it. It's a second chance romance, and I absolutely love this. It was so good. Brooke Montgomery can do no wrong. I gave this 5 stars. And then I did read 2 more novellas. Now, I wanted to end the year on a round, like an even number, which I did with Come With Me. It was 254 books, I think, for the year. I ended up reading 2 more novellas. I was just really in the mood to continue reading yesterday. So I ended up reading 2 more novellas, and they were from the Creature Feature collection. So I read The Pram by Joe Hill. It's the first Joe Hill I've ever read, and it was about 58 pages long. It wasn't too long at all. That book freaked me the fuck out. It freaked me out. You can get them on Kindle Unlimited, and then you can get the audiobook for free, and the audiobooks are really good. But it really freaked me out. It was about this husband and wife who had recently, I think maybe a year ago, lost their child, and they were moving to a new place. But this place was like kind of a little bit isolated. The town around was a little bit weird, and there was some strange characters in town. But they moved anyway, and one day the husband, Willie, has gone to get groceries from the shop, and he's gotten a little bit too much that he can't carry it all back. And the guy who runs the grocery store said, just wait here a minute, I've got something for you that can help you carry them back, and ends up giving him this pram, like old, really old pram. Now when he's on his walking his way back home, he can hear like cooing, like a baby cooing and stuff, and he's like, no, I'm just making it up in my head because I'm pushing a pram, blah blah blah. And as time goes by, he ends up hearing it a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, and it's just really, I've got chills just thinking about it. It was really fucking creepy, really freaked me out. Like 58 pages. I'm very excited to dive into more Joe Hill stuff. I really enjoyed the writing style. It was very well done, and I ended up giving it 4 stars, but it was really fucking creepy. Really did its job, I will say that. And then I read Ankle Snatcher by Grady Hendrix. Now I've read from Grady Hendrix before. I've had some wins and some losses with Grady, but this one was good. I gave it 3.5 stars, and this one was only like 28 pages or something, 25 pages. It wasn't longer at all, and we're following this guy whose dad has been deemed a killer, a murderer, and is in prison. But his dad always said, no, it was the ankle snatcher. I didn't do it, it was the ankle snatcher. And obviously nobody's ever believed him. But this guy, it must have gotten in his head, and he starts dating this girl, and then she stays over one night, and she gets up to go to bed one night, and on automatically he flicks the lamp on because I think he's got in his head about this ankle snatcher thing, but nothing happens. And then she comes back to bed and this hand comes out from underneath the bed. Again, I've got chills, it really fucking freaked me out. This hand comes out from underneath the bed, gets hold of her around the ankles, and then, you know, the story kind of goes from there. But it really fucking freaked me out. And I think this one really played, whereas like the pram was just really, really eerie and creepy, this one really played on childhood fears that I always had, that there was a monster under the bed. You know, we all had that on, like, in our heads, I think. And it's something that I maybe never quite grew out of. I don't know why, I just never really quite grew out of it. We got a new bed earlier on this year and it's an ottoman, so I'm not as bothered about it. But while I was reading this, I was sat up on the couch with one of my feet on the ground, and I ended up pulling my foot off of the ground and back onto the couch again. It really freaked me out. It really played on a childhood fear that I've always had, and it really, really freaked me out. So yeah, I'll be keeping my ankles away from any gaps underneath beds or couches. But it really creeped me out, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I'm very excited to continue reading the rest of them. There's 4 more. The next one is a Josh Malerman one, and then I don't recognise the authors for the last 3. But I'm really excited to continue the rest of them, and had I had time I would have tried to do that before the end of the year, but I've not got time. So I left it at that, and I may try and do them for Winterween maybe. I feel like that will be a good time to do them, and I can kind of smash them out in a day because they're very, very short indeed. So yeah, that was everything that I read for December. I feel like this has been quite the long wrap up, but that was everything that I read for December. In terms of some new to me authors that I found this year and actually read multiple books from in this year as well, I have a few that are indie. One of them actually is partially indie but also has been picked up by a publisher. But one of them that is not indie and has been automatically picked up by a publisher is Benjamin Stevenson. I've read all of his books so far this year. Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone got initially 4.5 stars, but I bumped it up to 5 after I read Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. Didn't enjoy it as much as Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, but I still enjoyed it regardless, and it got 4.5 stars. So I bumped Everyone in My Family's Killed Someone up to 5 stars. And then, as I've just mentioned, I did read Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret in December, so which I also gave 4.5 stars. So a very good run for Benjamin Stevenson for me. And then for indie published authors, I have read both of Kayla James's books this year, Lights Out and Jumpstart, and I'm very excited to continue on with this series. Both of these were 5-star reads for me. My favourite F1 series, my favourite F1 books I've ever read, to be perfectly honest. So, and I've read quite a few. And then the author that is like a combo of indie and traditional, I have the Silver Pine series and then also Wolf. This is just the order that I read them in. So I did get an arc of Holding the Reins, which I absolutely loved. This was fantastic and I had a fantastic time with it. I then did pick up Wolf when it came out and I loved this. This was so fucking good, and it opened my eyes to quite a few new things that I've never read before in a dark romance. And then Training the Heart I also got an arc of, and I'm very excited to read Riding the High, I think the third one is called, that's coming out early on in 2025. So I did read 3 of Paisley Hope's books, all 5 stars, absolutely fantastic. And then Brooke Montgomery, I read 4 of her books this year. She's a new to me author this year. She also writes as Brooke Fox, and I do want to read those books as well. But I did read in the order that I read them in. I read Fall With Me, which is book 3 in the Sugarland Creek series. I gave it 5 stars. I then read Only With Me, which is book 4 in this series, gave it 5 stars. I then read Here With Me, which is book 1 in the series. I gave it 5 stars. And then, as I've just mentioned, Come With Me, which is book 0.5, which I gave 5 stars. Book 2 is on my TBR for January, and I'm very excited to get to it. And then I will be completely up to date with the series until Sin With Me comes out in February. And then a new series will start for Brooke Montgomery. So very excited. I did find some really good new to me authors this year. There is some others as well, but I might have only read like 1 book from them. But these are ones that I've read multiple books from, or like not their entire backlist, not with Brooke anyway, but I've read everything that they've come out with so far for Paisley, Kayla, and also Benjamin. So I had some really good reads this year, some very good reads. I read a lot more indie books this year. I read a lot more arcs this year as well. It's not something that I usually do. I usually end up getting an arc and then waiting until it's come out so I have the audiobook. I physically read a lot more this year as well. Let's have a quick look through my stats. So overall, I've read a total of 256 books for the year. It's not my best year, but it is one of my top years for sure. I listened to a total of 1,580 hours of audiobook, and I read 82,446 pages, which is a lot. I DNF'd 16 books this year. I might have DNF'd a couple more than that. I feel like there's some not mentioned on here, but I DNF'd apparently 16 books this year, which is quite a bit. I physically read 39.7%. Mixed media was the most, which for me, I always put mixed media down, which is a combination of audiobook and following along with a physical book. So, you know, immersion reading. So 55% of my reading was immersion reading. Physical reading was 39% and ebooks was 4.8%. Audiobook just on its own 0.4%. I don't very often just listen to an audiobook. I'm usually immersion reading or, you know, doing a combo a little bit, maybe dipping in and out or following along as well as the audiobook. I did 11 rereads this year and everything else was read for the first time. And I did a lot of series reading actually this year. 176 books were part of series with 95 standalones. So I did pretty well with that, but unfortunately, I started 86 series this year. I read 72 sequels. I finished 16 series, and then series that I've DNF'd are 19 as well. I did do quite a huge purge several times this year actually, where I DNF'd some series that had been going on way too long, and I was like, at this point I just don't think I'm ever going to finish. I read 6 books for book clubs and 117 books were for readathons, which is pretty impressive because I take part in quite a lot of readathons. We've got the F1 readathon with Patreon, and then obviously I've got the Final Book Support Group and Literature readathon as well, but I take part in the, you know, Winterween and Summerween readathons as well. There's also Polathon that I take part in February, which is Jay's readathon, and then we do Box for Patreon as well, which is a special edition F1 readathon, a week-long one. I read, as far as genres are concerned, I read the most for fantasy, which was 78 books, 28%. 77 books, 28%, was romance. And 32 books, 11% were contemporary. For horror though, 37 books actually. I read more horror than I did contemporary. 37 books in horror this year, which is phenomenal for me because I'm not a horror girly, but it looks like it's going that way for me, which is great news. 16 mysteries, 10 thrillers, 1 paranormal, 4 dystopia, 3 adventure, 1 mythology, 6 historical fiction, 4 sci-fi, 1 dark academia, 1 non-fiction. That's terrible. I really want to get my non-fiction up next year and read more non-fiction. I even know what the non-fiction was, and it was The Third Gilmore Girl by Emily Gilmore. No, by Kelly Bishop. Same person, but different. I read across 15 different genres, and my most popular sized book was like between 300 and 350 pages. Number of translated books was 58, which is pretty impressive. I read a lot of manga though this year. So again, those books that I mentioned before, I haven't read. Like Brooke Montgomery is not my most read author this year. There will be, you know, I read A Business Proposal volume 1 through till volume 6 this year. So I read 6 volumes of A Business Proposal. I read quite a few volumes of Blue Flag. I think I read 5 volumes of Blue Flag, but there might be, that author might have done some other stuff on my shelves as well. I read quite a few volumes of Attack on Titan. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of manga that I have read this year, but I've also been reading more non-translated, like translated fiction as well, non-manga ones. 56 Japanese translated, 57 Japanese translated and 1 Icelandic translated. Interesting. 172 of the books were novels. I read 61 manga, as I've just mentioned. I read 16 novellas and 21 graphic novels, which is pretty cool. And how I got the books as well, 174 of the books I actually already owned. 23 arcs, which is huge for me. That's massive. That's almost 2 arcs a month, so that's pretty impressive. 18 subscription box books, 45 gifted books, and 11 Kindle Unlimited. I've done much better with Kindle Unlimited this year. I would like to try and aim, I think, for at least 1 a month next year, if not 2. That would be cool. But yeah, my star ratings, I have a really high average rating for the year. So my average rating for the year is 4.5 stars, which is really, really high. However, I do know my reading taste very, very well, and I tend to only reach for things that I know I'm going to enjoy. On occasion, I branch out and reach for something new, but sometimes it doesn't work out well, and I'm an active DNFer as well, so that really plays in with this. It's not very often you will catch me going to the end of a book and rating it 1 or 2 stars. So I did only give 8 books 2 stars. I gave 42 books 3 stars. I gave 120 books 4 stars, and I gave 86 books 5 stars. That's a lot of books that I've given 5 stars to. But again, I know my reading taste very, very well. I don't just, you know, I mean, maybe I do. I read a lot of romance, and it's very easy to get caught up in the moment and give a romance a 5 star, but I usually stand by my ratings. If I'm usually changing a rating, it's usually going up. So it's not very often I'm bringing a rating down, but yeah, you know. The age ranges, I've read 10 middle grade this year. You can see that I'm not reading as much middle grade as I normally would. I have read 18 new adults this year. I struggle with knowing what is classed as a new adult and what isn't. I have read 94 YA books, which is really fucking bizarre because I don't read much YA anymore. So I'm not sure what books they were. And then 150 adult books as well. And I have read, the year I've read the most from this year has been 2024. I read 103 books from 2024 this year. So that's pretty cool. I would like to read more disability rep books. I have 192 books that were not disability rep, and then 80 books that were. So I would like to get that to, you know, a much better average for sure. And similarly with queer books as well, 193 of the books that I read were not queer, but 79 of them were. So again, I would like to get that average much better. And also POC authors as well. 186 of my books were not POC authors, and 85 of them were. So I would like to move that around as well if I can. I did read mostly from women this year. 172 books were by women, 47 by men, 18 by multiple authors, and then I do have 35 that are not specified. Those will probably most likely be manga, in which sometimes the author isn't, you know, there is not much information on the author. So, and then new or returning authors, 53% I've read from before, 46% were new authors. I'm pretty impressed with that actually. It's like close to being 50-50 on read from before and new authors. I like to find new authors, so that's cool. I read from a total of 201 different authors this year, which is phenomenal considering I read 256 books. 201 of those were different authors, so that's pretty phenomenal. It's quite a few different authors. But yeah, I'm impressed with my reading this year. I think I've read quite a lot. Do I think I'm probably going to read that many next year? Probably not. I think I'm going to be quite busy next year with other stuff. I want to try and progress my own career a little bit and work on that a little bit more. And I would like to read, you know, not that my reading has been bad this year because I've enjoyed a lot of the books very clearly, but I think I say this every single year, but quality over quantity, and then it just never happens. I just dive into my reading a lot, but a lot has changed for me this year. You know, Andy's moved in with me this year and we've gotten engaged, which was not on my bingo card, but it's happened and I'm so fucking excited. I'm really excited, so we'll be planning for that as well. So I want to focus on my career, I want to focus on planning our wedding, and you know, we want to go traveling a little bit, which will be kind of reduced a bit with us planning a wedding and paying for that, but we have got Egypt booked for next year, and we would like to do maybe something else as well. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, there is a few things that are happening next year that means I think I won't be reading as much, but who knows, who knows. I think this year's gone pretty well as far as reading is concerned, and I'm really happy with how it went. There have been a few duds, there have been a few disappointing reads as well, which you'll find out about soon. But I think my best books of the year is going to be a really hard list to compile, really hard list. I know my number one, but I think the rest of it's going to be really difficult. There have been some excellent books this year, like phenomenal books. As I say, like I held up Brooke Montgomery, Kayla James and Paisley Hope. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books there that got 5 stars, you know, already. So we'll have to see what happens with all of that, but that video will be coming up very soon. But yeah, that is my December wrap up and some stats for 2024. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Chat to me in the comments down below. How did your 2024 go? How many books did you read? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye for now.